Welcome to the first ever all-time classic songs podcast. This is your host Martin Sages, and boy am I glad to get this first ever podcast on the roll. Alright, the way these podcasts are going to work is that I'm going to feature a song, a genre, a band, or whatever, and just talk about it. Because I believe there's nothing like understanding history, the influence, the legacy, and the emotions that these type of songs give us. So that's how all my podcasts will work. So today's featured artist is one of all-time favorite bands. They are The Carpenters. Now, you may have heard of Carpenters before. You may have heard the name, but I'm pretty sure you heard the music, even without knowing it. Now, who were the Carpenters? They were a band that were primarily famous in the 1970s. Essentially, they were composed of two people, a brother and a sister. Older brother Richard Carpenter and younger sister Karen Carpenter. As kids, both showed a love for music and a lot of musical talent. Richard was keen on playing the piano, and over time he got to master the piano. While Karen, while at first was more a sporty type of person, soon enough became involved in music, and surprisingly she decided to become a drummer, which was a rare thing back then, and for a female, of course. So as a result of this, their parents saw their musical talent and wanted to take them closer to the music industry. So for that reason, they moved from the east side of the United States, where they were born in Connecticut, to California, to a town called Downey. This way they were much closer to the music industry in California, and this way the chances of getting a break, of making career in music, was greater. So throughout the 60s, both Richard and Karen went around Los Angeles or California in general, looking to play in bands and clubs, and they saw themselves as being more a jazz band. So they were always looking for new members to play other instruments in the band. It was during these times that they met a bassist from LA called Joe Osborne. He was immediately impressed by Karen's voice, and as a result he let them make demo tapes, some of which were released. Were not commercially successful, but nonetheless Joe Osborne believed that they had potential, and despite not having any commercial success with the recordings at the time, Joe Osborne let them record demo tapes in the hope that they will get a contract from a bigger record company. And this is what happened in 1969. In 1969, A&M Records signed them through Herb Alpert, who was the co-owner of the company at the time. He saw immense potential in the group, but at the same time it was a risky signing, mainly because the Carpenters' music was soft pop ballads, pretty much, unlike the music at the time, which were rock songs from artists such as Jimi Hendrix, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Janis Joplin. So it was not trendy. It wasn't cool to play the type of music that the Carpenters played, which made them unique. But at the same time, there was a sense of doubt that they were actually commercially viable. So it wasn't surprised that the first album with A&M Records was a dud. It was a failure, and he only had one minor hit, which was a reworking of the Beatles hit Ticket to Ride. Sorry. but Herb Alpert persisted with them, and they made a second album, for which the first single, Close to You, became an overnight success. It went to #1 in US charts for 4 weeks in 1970, and eventually became the biggest single and the most popular song of their career. And it's one of my all-time favorite songs. I really adore Close to You. If you haven't heard Close to You by The Carpenters, you should listen to it. Get on YouTube, whatever, and listen to it. It is absolutely wonderful. There's nothing like it. Just takes you to another place. It does to me, at least. So from here on, after this first success, they had continued success throughout the 1970s. Other hits apart from Close to You were We've Only Just Begun, For All We Know, Rainy Days and Mondays, Yesterday Once More, Hurting Each Other, Superstar, Top of the World, and Please Mr. Postman. Overall, they had 3 #1 hits in the United States, including another 9 songs which made the top 10, all throughout the 1970s. In addition, they had 15 #1 songs on the adult contemporary music charts in the United States. So as you can see, they were one of the most commercially successful groups of the 1970s. Due to their popularity, they toured a lot. Between not just 1971 and 1975, they did on average 150 concerts per year. That's, if you think about it, that's about half a year just doing concerts. That's not including the traveling, setting up, and promotion part of it. So they're pretty full out between 1971 and 1975, traveling everywhere: United States, Japan, Australia, Europe. They were famous the world over. As a result of touring so much, the hectic schedules, Richard was given sleeping aids, or what is known as quaaludes, and in order to sleep well during tour, because their sleeping habits would get out of whack. And as a result, he became addicted to quaaludes and had to enter rehab in 1979. He recovered. However, at the same time, Karen was also affected heavily by the touring, and she began dieting excessively and began developing anorexia nervosa. However, she didn't seek help. She thought she was doing fine, she could recover, so she didn't seek help for many years. In 1980, she married, but it was a complete disaster. She divorced a year later, more depressed and more problematic. She was having more problems. She was experiencing more mental, psychological problems more than ever.